Hello, and welcome to the Tuning In podcast. I'm Dana Evans, your inner voice and emotional support coach. In this podcast, we explore the deep wisdom that lives in our bodies, emotions, and inner voice. Together, we'll shed the layers that no longer serve us, creating space to tap into the flow of life and experience true ease. So, are you ready to join me? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast. Today, I wanted to give you just a quick little episode, an update episode about the financial fast. So a couple of episodes ago, I mentioned that I started a financial fast. This is something I have never done. At least I have never done it in this way. I've definitely had times and moments in my life where I'm like, oh, I need to spend less money. Oh, I need to be better. Oh, I'm, overbuying. Right? I've had definitely those thoughts. I've had those judgments. I've had those stressors. And I've had times where I'm like, okay, I need to cut things out. Okay, I need to stop. But I've never had it show up in this way. I've never had it show up in this really organic, non-judgmental, sustainable way, and certainly not in the way that I did it this time around. So if you didn't hear that episode, what I said was that I started a financial fast. I learned about this from Victoria, Washington, and it's really simple. It's choose an area in your financial life where you feel bloated, where you feel, you're overstimulated, you're too much dopamine, like overweight, where it's out of balance. And the way she talked about that, she's like, and then for 30 days, you release that. You say, I'm choosing to not do this. Very similar. I love the idea. I love the name because it's very similar to a fast or a cleanse that you would do with food. And that's something I'm very, very, very familiar with. It's also similar, kind of similar, not really. I was going to say it's similar to clearing out and organizing. It is in that I ended up doing a lot of that, but it's different in that clearing out and organizing is getting rid of stuff. Like I did a financial clear out in October of last year. I went through all of our accounts, business and personal, credit cards, everything. And I did a clear out. I did an organization. I got rid of expenses that we didn't need. I cleared out like $250 of recurring monthly expenses that we weren't using, like subscriptions and things like that. We had like a duplicate TV subscription. I'm like, oh my gosh, where did all this come from? So I did that clear out, and I did then organization where I really moved as much as I could onto one of our credit cards that we do all of our expenses on every month, and then we pay that card. Because what I realized was I had things on so many different accounts and cards that it was hard to really track and understand where the money was going. So in October of 2023, I did a financial clear out and organization. Okay. Then this month, in January, I did a financial cleanse, a financial fast. That's more similar to a food cleanse or a food fast where you say like, I'm giving up caffeine for a month, or dry January, sober October, where people give up alcohol for the month. I mean, I do cleanses all the time, or I used to. I shared about one recently where it's like, okay, I was not eating dairy, I wasn't eating gluten, I wasn't having caffeine, I wasn't having sugar, right? I was doing the parasite detox. So that is what this is. So for 30 days, you choose one area of your financial life that feels out of balance, that feels like it kind of has taken on its own life, and you cleanse yourself of it. So that could be anything, right? Like for everyone, it's different. I know for a lot of people I've talked to about this, they're like, okay, I'm not going to go out to dinner. That's not something John and I do. It's like a big deal if we go out to dinner, if we like manage to make the plan, by the end of the day when it's time to go, if we manage to like still want to go, get ourselves ready, get out the door, it's like not something we do. Maybe like 3 times a month we're going out to dinner. So that's obviously not one that we would do, but other ones for people could be like going to coffee shops or even having drinks. Like they might not want to buy alcohol for a month, right? Like use what you got. So there's so many ways that you can look at your own financial life and say, okay, where am I spending? Where does it feel out of balance? And what do I want to release? So for me, I didn't even have to think about it. There was no question that I was out of balance in online purchases. And I think I've talked about this quite a bit in the past, where I definitely knew that in the past I've used buying in general as a way of emotional regulation. So I've really been working with that. But then online buying has just become so available. It's become so easy and instant that there was no pause for me between wanting and buying. And really, this energy of all this had started after October. So I think in November, I had started a list called Things I Want to Buy. So I was kind of practicing, like, instead of just wanting something and buying it, I'd put it on a list and like wait for a couple of days so that I could ride my emotional wave. So I wasn't buying in a high or a low. Anyone buy in a high or a low? You feel so good, you got to buy something. Or like, oh, you don't feel good and you want to feel better, so you buy something. So that I had like kind of started to implement, but it wasn't to this level. And so I've been watching my purchasing and I'm like, oh my God, Amazon. It's like, buy something, buy something, buy something. And all of a sudden you get like freaking packages every day. It's like, this has earplugs in it. This has toothpaste. This has a 3D print of a moon that's a light. I actually have that. And it was feeling out of control. And then I buy actually a lot of food online. So I was buying meat online and I buy products online. I was buying skincare online and I was buying my cleaning products online. Like everything I realized I was buying online. Now, that's okay. And for the most part, the things that I get online, like my meat or Branch Basics, I use their cleaning products. I stand behind those products and I'm not able to get them locally, though I did just discover some cool local meat places that I'm going to check out. But I'm not able to get always the quality of something that I want in my town. But that doesn't mean I need to be every day buying something. And I'm not kidding, guys. Like, please don't be too harsh on me. I mean, we all have our stuff, but it was almost rare and extremely uncommon for me to go a day without a purchase. And again, I'm not spending like thousands and thousands of dollars. It's not like it was causing like a huge problem. It was just, I don't need to be doing this. You know, it's like you buy this. It's like, we need this on Amazon. Fine, we'll order it immediately. And I was getting really fed up with that. And then, of course, when you're on social media, for me at least, Instagram is the only real social media that I use. But it's like, they're feeding you ads and they know you so well because they're tracking you all the time. And they know your behaviors and they're feeding you things that you want. And so it's like, had I not opened Instagram today, would I have wanted or bought this? No. Did I have a need before they said, you need this? And a lot of times the answer was no. Some of those things, of course, are like, ooh, that will make my life better. That would be a nice improvement. But a lot of them, it's just stuff. And so I'd been going through, in the Messy Middle episode, I talked about how I was clearing out. And I've been doing a lot of that recently. It's like this constant thing of clearing out. And what I realized is I don't want to bring more things in while I'm in a clear out space. So all of that came together. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this fast. I'm stopping all online purchases. It doesn't matter. I could justify anything, but it does not matter. I'm not buying online purchases. I have made 2 exceptions, which I will share with you guys. So I'm in week 3 now, and I've continued this. And it's kind of crazy that it's like my whole system has calmed down around it. So just like caffeine, like the first few days you cut it out, you have a headache, you feel nauseous, you're exhausted, you're cranky. And then as it goes on, you're like, oh, I'm kind of craving it still, but I don't have the headache, or I'm craving it, but I'm not cranky, or the craving starts to go down. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel I have more energy. I'm not crashing in the afternoon. I am sleeping better. Or at least these are all the experiences I've had whenever I cut out caffeine. So that's kind of where I'm in now, week 3 of the cleanse, the fast. And a big breakthrough came over this weekend. I shared about this a little bit in the last episode. Sorry, all my episodes I feel like are overlapping because everything is so interconnected. Like I can't separate my financial life from my movement, from my body. I can't separate my body from my business. I can't separate my business from my life. And I can't break it up on the podcast as much as I try because it's all living and breathing and unfolding at the same time, because these things tend to have a ripple effect, right? Like when you shift an area of your life, it has a ripple effect, and usually a positive ripple effect in other areas of your life. So all that is to say, during the workshop this weekend, the Bowspring workshop, it was really intense for my nervous system because you're doing a ton of opening, okay? So it's a lot of open, engaged positions. So we're not like doing bicep curls and crunches. You're like stepping your feet wide, your butt is back, your pelvic floor is open, your belly is long, your low back ribs are filled, your front ribs are lifting, your throat is open, you're creating space, you're bouncing, you're moving. This stuff is really intense for your nervous system. Our nervous system is the most quieted when you're rounded. Think like a banana, like a C curve. When your chin is tucked, your chest is dropped, your shoulders are dropped, your belly is short, and your hips are tucked under. Think of like the fetal position. And then think about that position, how most of the time, even now, when we're standing and moving, we're kind of closed off. And even a lot of movement modalities like crunches, they're creating more closed, tight positioning. And this is open but toned. And what was happening during that time is we were doing all these open positions. It's moving a ton of energy. You're vulnerable. It's not how I've been operating, right? I've definitely been a little more hunched. And then when you pause, instead of pausing and collapsing, right, to calm the nervous system, you're pausing in the open position to teach the nervous system to regulate while open. This is huge. I can't even explain how huge this is. If it lands, it lands. If it doesn't, it'll click in at some point for you. But what I noticed is we're having 2-hour sessions and then 2 hours in between. So it was 4 hours a day, but it was broken up into 2-2-hour chunks. And the in-between chunks, especially on Saturday, that first in-between chunk, I was feeling dysregulated. So on the pathway to regulation is dysregulating. I was feeling a lot. It was a lot of energy coming into my body and moving and coursing and pulsing and pumping. And in that break, like I mean, I'm going to be totally honest with you, I numbed out. I watched a movie. But before I started the movie, I was feeling this deep urge to buy. I was like, I'm just going to buy the thing. I'm like, never mind. It's been plenty of time. I'm not stressed about money anymore. I'm just going to buy the thing. And I was like, whoa, like it was a whole like F it mentality. I'm over this. I'm just going to buy it. But because I've been conditioning myself and training for this, right? I've been training to recover in an open position. We're doing this with our emotions all the time as well. I was able to pause before the action. I was able to pause before buying something. And the question I asked myself is, why am I craving a purchase so much right now? Because to be honest, during the previous 2 weeks, it kind of felt fun and empowering. It didn't feel like that big of a deal that I wasn't buying online things. In fact, I was surprised by how easily my body was like, okay, cool, we're on board with this. Now, when I did see something or think of something that I wanted to buy, I did add it to my to-buy list. In fact, that felt extremely important to my mind, that we keep track of the things we want to buy, lest we forget to buy them. My mind was really attached to that. That isn't the case anymore. I'll tell you in a moment. But really, those first 2 weeks, it wasn't a big deal. Then this weekend came, which broke up the 2 weeks, and it was like urgent. So I asked myself the question, why now? And what will buying give me? Because I'm at least attached enough at that point to see that the buying really wasn't about the things. It was about an idea in my head that those things were going to give me something. And in that moment that I asked the question, what I received, the answer was relief. Making the purchase would give me a sense of relief. Whew. That really stopped me in my tracks. It was followed by this visual of like a balloon. You know, when the balloon is filling, and it's like, well, it's so big. And then if you let go of the blow spout, you let go, it goes, and it just blows away. Or if there's like a bubble, and you're like, oh my God, I can't hold the bubble, pop, and it pops. Like, you know, when you're blowing a bubble with gum and you pull it with your tongue to pop the bubble, there is a sense of relief in that. And that's what my body was seeking. And it's fascinating to me because I've been on this journey, this process. It started last year and it has really amplified as I got into this year of holding the good. How good can it be? How much joy can I feel? How much money can I allow into my space? Because my relationship with money has been in the past of once I have it, I spend it. It's like I need to get rid of it. It's too good. Like I gotta use it. And same with like when I'm feeling really good, I would have to go on Instagram and like scroll to like numb myself. And so it's been this expansion of relationship of like, how good can it be? How much can I hold? How much am I allowing myself to feel this vibration? And what was happening during the Bowspring workshop was it did feel good and it was uncomfortable. It felt good and it was uncomfortable. It was pushing me to my own boundaries of how good it can feel. And so in the pause in between, I wanted relief. And my mind was like, the quickest way to get relief is to buy something. Once I made that connection, I was like, oh, this is a pivotal moment because now I see it. I think I could have kind of told you that before. It was like I was buying to move the energy. I was buying to give me something, to fill a void. I could say all of these things, but I could never articulate. I didn't know. It was like, you're looking for relief. And it's interesting, right? Because my inner voice has said to release is to feel relief. It's like, you know, here's a great one. When you really have to pee, and then when you sit down to pee and it's like, oh, it's like such a relief to release, right? Oh my God, my cat just crashed through the door, stepped on my computer and stopped my whole recording. Oh my gosh. Okay, what I was saying. Yes, when you go pee, when you really had to pee and you finally pee and it's such a relief and you feel like the emptying of your bladder. Literally, that is what I was associating with spending. It's like to release the money is to feel relief. And so the new relationship, of course, that I'm building is like, can I feel relief without releasing it in that way? Can I release and circulate the energy without having to buy something, without having to numb myself on Instagram, without having to distract? Like, can I be with this? Just like in the posture of the bowstring, can my nervous system reset while I'm still open? Can I feel held while I'm in a vulnerable position? It's so powerful. So that awareness, I mean, this is why we do cleanses. This is why we do resets. Obviously, it's not sustainable for me to never buy anything online again, right? But to build awareness as to why I was doing it in the first place, yeah, sometimes you need earplugs and you get them on Amazon, right? But to build intention and awareness and clarity of like, what is a need? Like, we're going to order meat, but like, when do I order meat because I just want to buy something, even though there's meat in my freezer? And I do that. So it's really getting into the nuances of what is my relationship with money? What is my relationship to purchasing? And what is my relationship to my own emotions and energy? Because it's not about the thing I'm buying. I mean, sometimes it is, but it's so much bigger than that as well. It's so much more. And so this fast is, you know, you could easily do something like this and then freeze up and be like, I'm never going to buy anything again. and like make yourself bad and wrong. But instead, it just made me clear. And I mean, I still have 2 more weeks, but when I move out of it, things I'm taking with me are delaying purchases, like really sitting with what does this mean and what's the intention of buying it. I do want to continue making purchases in person as much as I can. Honestly, it's gotten me out of the house more and it's gotten me more integrated in the local community. Santa Fe has such an awesome local community and people are just so willing to connect. So like when I purchase in stores, and there's so many amazing little shops and local artisans, and I just would rather pour my money, even meat at the farmer's market. I'd rather give my money there and recirculate it locally. So it's also giving me that, like, I want to continue using my money in that way. And then at the end of the day, I want to continue feeling comfortable with excess, more money, with overflow, with cash sitting in the bank account, with credit cards paid off. Whereas in the past, my norm was having excess on the credit card and not enough in the bank account. And I'm flipping that. And an easy way to flip that was just to reevaluate how I'm using and spending and energetically working with money and myself. Isn't that cool? It never would have occurred to me to do something like this, which is so funny. Like I had money so separate from all other areas of my life. All other areas I'm willing to cleanse and clear. Like I do body cleanses, I do body resets, I do organization and house and cleaning and clearing projects and food and all of this. And it never occurred to me to do it in my finances. So if this at all inspires you, like I highly recommend exploring this. It is radical and it will radically reshape your relationship to that. And it removes so much guilt and shame. You know, you're not bad. You're not doing a bad job. It's like if you can get to the root of what's underneath it, then you can actually do something about it versus just changing it for the fact like I spend too much money, so I'm not allowed to buy anymore. And if I buy something, I'm bad. And that just reminds me of, I said this in the beginning, there were 2 things that I did purchase. And one was the Bowspring workshop. Like, come on. So that I purchased. I do pretty much anytime Desi and John do an online workshop, which isn't that often, I participate because they're just so deeply nourishing. And when that came up, my mind was like, no, we're on the financial fast. We're not allowed to buy things. We're not allowed to buy things. But I did check in and my inner voice was like, no, this is for you. This is allowed. This is more than just about spending. So it was a very clean, clear, and I bought that. And of course, that workshop is what caused so many breakthroughs. If you listen to last week's episode, it's the inspiration for my new group intensive body wisdom, which is like, it's really the full integration of mind, body, and inner voice, how to live it, be it, breathe it. And then, of course, it created so much clarity around my financial fast and what I was actually doing. And then the other thing I purchased was another online program, and I was on the wait list. So I didn't buy this the first round because my inner voice was like, it's a not right now. And this is a whole posture, neck, shoulder, face sculpting, lymphatic drainage, total muscular skeletal reset for the head, neck, and shoulders and the face, like creating tone and releasing sagging and wrinkles from the face. And I'm so deeply excited about it because I'm getting back into the body. And so I did purchase that as well. And I had, of course, no idea that it was really about posture and neck at the time. I thought it was really just about face. And it's so deeply aligned with what we were doing in the Bowspring workshop this weekend. And it's going to help me continue everything that I was embodying during the workshop because this is 30 days. Every day you're doing these. Honestly, it's like 30 to 45 minutes of self-massage, lymphatic drainage, and sculpting of the muscles and the body. It's really intense. I didn't really know what I was getting into, but I did purchase that, and that was a really clean, clear yes. Both of those were time sensitive. And so it was like, if I choose the financial fast over those, like, that's it. The workshop's not happening again, right? This thing, I don't know when she's going to release it again. So it felt like I could choose those. And it's just been continually reinforced that that was the right choice. And I'm going to make one other comment. We'll see. I'll let you know. But I've had my eye. There's this local company. They make their shirts locally. They're beautiful, like raw cotton shirts, and they hand paint them. And there's one with a heart. And it just feels like love embodied. And so I have a desire to have that for Valentine's Day. So that might be like my little treat for myself. We'll see. I've been looking at that shirt for 2 weeks. So I may or may not purchase that. So I just want to be really transparent with you all too. Like when I do things like this, I feel like I could easily say, this is so great. And I didn't do, no, like I'm still a human. I still have desires and I'm really looking at things in a different way. And I want to be honest with you. Like I've purchased a few things online and I don't feel like it's wrong or bad. And this is a huge growth for me as well, because I have a history with when I do something, my mind gets really stuck and attached to being all or nothing and being good or bad. So like if I did a cleanse, I shared the radical way I cleansed this last time in the Cleanse Diaries episode, because my mind was like, well, we either have to quit the cleanse or we have to suffer through. And I found this in between of like, oh, I just needed some extra protein. I love witnessing my own progress in that, like, I didn't feel shame or guilt around making these purchases. And it wasn't a thing like, oh, you make the purchase and now it like breaks the spell and now you're just buying shit, right? Neither of those happened. It was like these were clean, clear purchases and they're reinforced. And I'm still carrying on with the fast. And I plan to see it all the way through. So there's your update. I love this so much. If you do a financial fast, oh my goodness, please tell me how you're fasting, what your experience is, how long. You know, you could do it for a day, a week, 21 days, 32 days, like 60 days. It's so organic and you get to kind of let your inner voice guide you and your body guide you what you need, right? What is your medicine? So with that, thank you as always for tuning in and we'll catch you next week. So since this episode is all about finances, I could not mention one of my biggest finance, wealth, and money mentors that I've had for years. And I've mentioned her before many times, Elizabeth Ralph, the spiritual investor. She's been on the podcast. In fact, I say this all the time, but her episodes are like the top downloaded episodes, which actually we should probably do another episode with her, right? Maybe I can have her on the podcast next week. She is so amazing and has really helped me reset my understanding and my relationship with money. In fact, the reason I could even do this financial fast as I had said, like it's nothing I'd ever really thought of before. But the reason I was able to do that energetically, mentally, and even with my nervous system was because I've worked with her in so many different ways to really help neutralize my experience with money. And that's been a journey. It really has been a journey. But she embodies the energy of money. Like when you're in her energy, when you're in her essence, when you're in her presence, you feel like, oh my gosh, this is for me. I can have this too. This feels safe. This feels doable. This feels like something that's actually in my future. And definitely in the past, I felt like large amounts of money and investing specifically were like so out of my wheelhouse, not available to me, not available to someone like me, right? Who's like more into the energy world, who likes to spend money. And she's helped me reframe that. And I'm currently in her mastermind, which is the best thing ever. She's reopening it middle of the year. I think there's a wait list for the mastermind right now. I'll put that in the show notes. I can't explain it, but like being in her energy is transforming me at a cellular level. And I know because of her, it's like what allowed me to do the financial fast. She asked me on the mastermind when I was reflecting on the fast, she said, well, what else has changed in your life? And I was like, wow, I didn't even connect those dots. I was only thinking of it in the terms of like hard dollars and cents, money. And she asked me like, how has that rippled into your life? Which I shared about in here. Like, wow, it can have this huge ripple effect. And it totally broke my brain. It's like, of course, in every other area of my life, I realized the ripple effect of things I do. But for some reason in the money, I was like, my brain was so in a box. So this is such perfect timing. But she has a workshop coming up on February 22nd to 24. Oh, that's fun. At 10 a.m. Pacific time. And I have a link that if you go to alignful.com/money, alignful.com/money, it will give you the link. I just made that URL so it's easier for you to just go there and you can sign up for the workshop. But it's a 90-minute workshop. It talks about how to get started in investing or how to deepen your relationship to money and investing if you're already in that world. But if you're like me, like it just was something that you didn't really think much of. Like I had investing accounts, but I didn't really engage with it. So if you want to deepen your relationship to your money and feel more inspired, secure, and really excited about what it actually looks like to like buy your future, this is really perfect for that. She also talks about how to create money using energy instead of the old paradigm way of doing, right? We've heard this before, but it's like, it's not about doing more, but it's about doing more with what you're already doing, right? So it's like, how do we shift the energy around that, which has totally broken my brain. And I'm just so seeing how my money is working for me in different ways, especially when I get to play in my investment accounts. And then she talks about why money mindset alone is keeping you stuck and actually blocking the dollars to your bank account. And this is a big one because money mindset, like I think a lot of us enter through that and we're like, we have to fix our money mindset. We have to fix our money mindset. But as you know, from this podcast and from my work, mind is it's 5% of the equation. Your conscious mind, your willpower, like that's such a small percentage. It's the energy underneath it. When you free up your energy, you can transfer it into financial abundance, right? It will help you release stress about money. And then it'll help you build like that excitement about having more and how it all gets to like snowball and really shift deeply. In the past, a financial fast would have been like grit for me. It would have been about willpower. It would have been like just getting through. It would be only a conscious mind thing, which wouldn't actually shift anything underneath the surface. It wouldn't shift the bigger picture. It wouldn't shift on an energetic level. But because I'd done so much work with Elizabeth, I could really step into the financial fast with a really clear energy. And when I had that clear energy portal, it allowed so many breakthroughs and shifts. And it continues to allow that to happen because I had prepared the palette. Right? I'd prepared my energetic system. It wasn't just a mental mindset thing that I was doing. So I couldn't finish this episode without telling you about this. I just found out about this workshop. And so I'm adding this on because I'm like, oh, the timing's perfect. This episode's coming out February 15th and the workshop is on February 22nd. So I encourage you to sign up. Early bird is $88 for the workshop. And let me tell you, it is a steal. I've done so many of her workshops and they always leave me with inspiration, clarity, connection to wealth and money, and just a new energy because you're in Elizabeth's energy. That is priceless. I cannot explain enough how priceless that is. So that is coming up, alignful.com/money. And then of course, I'll have the links in the show notes. I'll put the links to her podcast, which is also amazing, and her mastermind waitlist. And maybe we'll have her on the podcast. Maybe I'll do an episode with her the following week. So stay tuned. Thank you as always for listening, and I'll see you in the workshop. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Tuning In podcast. If you loved this episode, please rate and review it or share it with a friend. If you want to go deeper into the realm of emotions and learn the language of your body, check out my audio course, Emotions Decoded, at alignful.com/audio. As always, you can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans. See you next week.